There will be a special message at the end of this video, so stick around to the end if you want to hear it. Previously on Persi-chan and Leo-kun's Bakugo Deku origins. The two's eyes went wide open in an instant, their heads turning to look at the door to see Inko Midoriya, who was now watching her son hugging the blonde-haired, explosive porcupine known as Bakugo, who was hugging Deku in return. To be continued? And now, the conclusion? Mom. I didn't expect you back so soon. Mrs. Midoriya, Mom. Hello there. You see we were just Bakugo and Deku quickly let go of each other, pulling away and standing beside each other. Oh, hey Kacchan, I wasn't expecting you to come around today. If I had known, I would have gotten ingredients to make spicy katsudon for you. Though, that does make me wonder. What brought you over this evening? Raises her eyebrow due to seeing the two hugging in the middle of the kitchen, and then their reaction to her coming inside. Bakugo rubbed the back of his head, lightly blushing as he looked to the side, nudging into Deku's side with his elbow. Hey, Kacchan. Kacchan was just here to return something I left at school. I ended up dropping one of my notebooks when we were leaving earlier and didn't notice until I got back home. Luckily Kacchan found it and brought it over for me. Bakugo glanced at his new boyfriend, before his eyes went back to Inko, hoping she would buy that story. After all, they only just got in a relationship, wasn't it a bit soon to tell people? Deku wasn't technically lying, because all of that did in fact happen. Nevertheless, he felt guilty about not telling the whole truth, rubbing the back of his head now as he stood there. Where did that book end up again? Oh. Here, let me help you with the groceries. Bakugo offered, quickly scooping up the bags from Inko and bringing them over to a nearby counter as she looked at him curiously. She rubbed her chin a bit, walking over to the table and picking up the notebook from where it had ended up, much to Deku's and Bakugo's once he saw chagrin. Hero stories, huh? As she said this, her hands gently opened the notebook to look inside, only for a green flash of light to go by as the book was quickly removed from her hands and closed by a panicked Deku. Inko just blinks a couple of times, turning to a deeply blushing Deku and raising an eyebrow at him. It's full of secret stories from various heroes and early on in their careers. You know, top secret stories that they don't want anyone else to know kind of deal. Inko just crossed her arms as she stared at her son, leaning back and shifting her balance to her back foot. Well, I suppose that would explain why I saw the two of you hugging, even if it's still a tad odd for you Kacchan. Bakugo winced a bit as he was called out, leaning against the kitchen counter as he crossed his arms, shifting about with a light blush on his cheeks. Deku though was in a much worse state, face glowing red with guilt etched upon it. He looked over to Bakugo with pleading eyes, wanting to just tell his mother about their relationship and signaling that as well as he could. With a sigh, Bakugo put his hand over his face and just nodded a bit to give our broccoli boy the okay. Deku looked relieved, chewing on his lower lip a bit as he walked on over to Bakugo and entwined one of his hands in one of our blonde-haired Pomeranian boy's hands. Inko blinked a couple of times, eyebrow as high as it will go as Deku lifts up their hands before them. Actually Mum. This is why we were hugging. ... Because you were holding hands? Inko says this in a purposeful, oblivious kind of way, but she had a strong feeling about what that meant. Mum. We're dating now. Deku gulped a bit as he said this, eyes closed as tight as he possibly could as a few tense seconds passed by. Even Bakugo closed his eyes, hand tightly holding on to Deku's as they waited. Well, it's about time you two. I can't believe it took you this long to do this. Inko swooped in to hug the two tightly, tears brimming her eyes as she did so. The sudden hug surprised both of the boys, their eyes opening as they looked to Inky in admitted shock to her reaction. Mom? I saw you're okay with us. I mean, you're not? How could I possibly not be okay with this? Izuku, you're my son, I'll always love you no matter what, no matter who you fall in love with and date. Even if it is a hothead like Kacchan, hey. I mean, he's practically been my son-in-law for years now. Inko teased them a bit, grinning before hugging them even tighter. Mom. Oi? I'm just glad you felt you could tell me this. Lots of emotional, crying faces as Inko begins to cry tears of happiness, unable to hold back any longer. Deku follows shortly after, with both Bakugo and Deku hugging her tightly. Sure, Bakugo wasn't crying as much as Deku or Inko were, and he did have his reputation to uphold. He did cry a bit alongside both of them. Just not to the same extent of nearly flooding the entire apartment. After all the crying, Inko did invite Bakugo to stay the night and have some food. It had gotten quite late at this point. You're more than welcome to stay with us for the night. It's not like you haven't done it before, and you've got even more of a reason to stay as well now. I think I have some peppers from the day before to make a spicy katsudon for you. Of course, the choice is yours, Kacchan. Inko nodded a bit, before pausing and frowning. Though I suppose I shouldn't be calling you that name now that you're dating Izuku, huh? No, feel free to, mom. If anything, you have even more of a right to do so now. And sure, I can stay the night. I'm sure my parents won't mind when I text them. Bakugo quickly replied, trying to assuage her worries. It would be more appropriate for me to call you Katsuki now, I think. Kacchan is a special term between you and Izuku after all, so I'll do my best to respect that. Bakugo just blinks a few times at that, his blush growing once more at what she said. It's fine, you know, like really. Bakugo grumbled a little, looking to the side as he rubbed the back of his neck out of embarrassment. The rest of the night went by well for them, with Inko making a spicy katsudon for Bakugo and a more mild katsudon for herself and Deku. They talked about stories from the two boys' childhood, things they had done, shenanigans they were involved in, silly things the two had done and all. This resulted in plenty of laughs, groans at their foolishness growing up, and lots of blushing. Honestly, you two were always around each other growing up. I'm surprised that buildings back then withstood you two. Especially considering what you two do to buildings now. Inko casually sips some tea as she states that, the two boys coughing and nearly choking on their drinks. Hey, we don't always do that. It just, well, happens sometimes. Yeah, it's the villain's fault, we have to get them. I mean, of course, I try not to destroy buildings and watch my fire. Deku though seems to Detroit smashes at the drop of a hat, and just about every building he enters follows that hat. Casually sips his drink while looking away and smirking. Fully placing the blame on Deku. Kacchan. That's not, I do not. It's not always my fault. Faces of embarrassment as he gets called out. It's all in good fun though, with Inko and Bakugo laughing at Deku's reaction, who then joins his mother and boyfriend in their laughs. Eventually it all starts to wind down, and Deku ends up excusing himself to the restroom to leave Inko and Bakugo alone. Silence fills the room as Inko takes a drink of her tea, while Bakugo fiddles with his drink for a few moments. He opens his mouth to speak, to apologize for his past behavior towards Deku, only for the unexpected to occur. No need to say anything, Katsuki. He blinks a few times, surprised at the response. Bakugo opens his mouth to speak again, confusion etched on his face. Honestly, after a decade of watching you grow up alongside Izuku, it's become easy for me to tell what you're thinking. What's happened has happened, it's in the past and nothing can change that. However, I believe your feelings towards Izuku to be genuine, and I know you'll take good care of my boy. You have my blessing to date him. Bakugo lets out his breath, having held it nervously when she began to speak. That being said, while I believe you won't harm him again, please don't let him come to harm by someone else if you can help it. And don't you let yourself be harmed either, nor should you dare to think to sacrifice your life, got it? If you do, Katsuki Bakugo, I swear you will regret it, do you understand me? There was a fiery passion in her eyes as she said that, determined to not let Izuku be harmed emotionally by Bakugo getting himself hurt for his sake. And it was one of the few times that Bakugo was scared speechless for a few moments, gulping and struggling to speak. Yes mom, I swear I won't let him come to harm, neither will I allow myself to come to harm nor sacrifice myself. Inko let out a sigh of relief, leaning back in her seat with a smile. Good. Thank you for that promise, it makes me feel better knowing that. Bakugo relaxes a little himself what she said, closing his eyes and shaking his head. Who would have thought that it's not villains I'm afraid of, it's the mother of my boyfriend, hey. This causes the both of them to laugh aloud, just as Deku returns to the room. What are you two laughing about? Oh nothing, just a small joke. Oh my all might, look outside. Deku and Bakugo blink a couple of times at her sudden exclamation, before turning to look out a nearby window to see snow falling. Snow? I mean, snow is cool, cold even, but we get it a few times a year, not sure why it's such a big deal now. Deku punches Bakugo's arm at the terrible pun, grinning a bit before nodding his head. I mean, yeah, I have to agree with Kacchan, I'm not quite sure what the big deal is. Boys, if the snow sticks and doesn't melt over the next couple of days, it's going to be a white Christmas. Christmas? Christmas? Yep. Christmas is this weekend, remember? Indeed, the two had actually forgotten that little fact, that in just a couple of days Christmas would be there. Whose house are we going to celebrate at? The end? Thank you all so much for watching through to the end of this, and I, Leo, am so sorry that this video took so long to make. To keep things short, I ended up getting super sick with the cold flu and then developed bronchitis and have been, until very recently, unable to start working on these videos. However, the support you all have shown the channel is just amazing and unbelievable and really helped me. We originally wanted to hit 100 subs by the end of 2021, but you have all just smashed through that goal, and as of the moment of this writing, we hit 150 subs for the channel. Thank you all so much for the support, the asking for part 3 in the previous video, all of that has truly been awesome to see. Do you all think we can hit 200 subs before the end of 2021? Well, we're about to find out. There will be a sequel to this, there will be a Christmas video featuring. No spoilers for you all. It's coming out either the day of or the day after Christmas, so be ready for it. If you liked this video, feel free to hit the like button, tell me what you liked about it in the comments below alongside any ideas you want to see happen. And please hit the subscribe button to show your support for the channel. See you in the next video, goodbye.